Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our first webinar. It's so good to have you all here. It's our first webinar in our MOOC on quality of digital learning. And I'm so happy to see you all here. We are connected through this webinar, even if we are spread all over the globe. It's fantastic. Okay, I see there are many chats already. We start right now, but let me first introduce myself. I'm Sybille Tuschter. You already know me from the MOOC and maybe from the forum and different places on the MOOC. I have been working in e-learning projects for more than 15 years now. And my role in this MOOC is to facilitate your exchange, your collaboration, to facilitate this webinar, to help you to be your first contact person in any questions and any issues. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. And I'm part of the organization team, so there are many who will help me and you too. But please don't hesitate to ask us. Okay, and I'm not alone here today. I have Maggy with me, Dr. Maggy Beukes-Amiss, from the University of Namibia. She's the director of the Center for Open, Distance and eLearning. Hi, Maggy. Welcome. So good to have you on board here.
Hi, Sybille. And I'll get my chance to welcome everybody and to say hi to them. But I feel at home, I can assure you.
Thank you, Maggy. Before we really dive into the topic, Maggy, I would like to take you all for a little journey through our global MOOC village. And I would like to invite you to share your questions and comments if you have any in the text chat. I try to keep an overview and an eye on the text chat also later if we have the presentation from Maggy. Okay, so let us switch to the next slide, and please remember that the chat is open for your questions. You see now our MOOC, our little MOOC village, and I would like to introduce you now to the most important MOOC elements. And first I have to congratulate you all because you are participants of a community-based MOOC. And this is special because you are able to network. We all will generate new knowledge together. We will connect, share knowledge, and we will co-create and will create new dimensions of quality in digital learning. First, you have the open house. The open house, you should see now my mouse, I hope so. And in the middle of our village there's the open house, and I would like to introduce you a little bit what it's about. Here all the MOOC organizers and also the MOOC experts share their materials, their online materials like videos and literature and their resources. But of course, you as participants are invited to share your likes, to comment those resources, and to participate here in the open house too. Okay, next, let's step into the beta house. Here you upload and share your own resources, your learning materials, all that you think that it's important and interesting for your peer participants. That can be videos too, and literature. And here you really can share from participant to participant. Of course, you can like and comment everything too. And then we have the groups. Here in the groups, you can really do your topical exchange, a specific exchange on certain topics. You can focus on certain topics. Currently, we are talking about digital learning and the understanding of digital learning, also in the groups, not only here in the webinar. And there you will collaborate within the groups. You will work on your assignment and jointly complete your assignments. They will be published in the beta house later, but not now, that will be later. Here you also can share resources and comments and likes. These are all those little groups, houses. And finally, we have the park, the forum park. And in the forum park, we will have informal exchanges and intercultural exchanges. There you can make friends, open new topics. You already can learn Chinese there. So it's just an intercultural and informal exchange, but also you can pose your organizational questions, or if you have questions on technical issues, they are right at that place in the forum. I also have a news and announcements forum there. So if you want to be updated, just have a look in regular times in the forum. Okay, so before I talk too long, and Maggie has to wait too long and to read in the chat what I will do in a minute, I will step to the next slide. I hope you get an impression. It's just a screenshot of all the groups here. And I wanted to make you a little curious again to join a group. You see that there are lots of activities already in our MOOC. And this week we are talking about digital learning in the forums, in the houses, in the group forums. And for every activity, you earn badges. So you can look in your profile how many badges you already have. And maybe you can do that after our webinar. Okay, before I leave the stage, I would like to make a little poll with you to see if you are all connected, even if I see that there is much going on in the chat. Therefore, I have to open the poll. Just wait one moment. And now you should see already a little poll about the motivation in this MOOC. So please just click. And you can click several answers if you like. Just do it intuitively and give us a brief feedback about your motivation for participating. If you have some other motivation, you can write it down in the text chat and use it as a text field for your feedback. I leave this poll open for another 30 seconds, so be quick. I'm reading in the chat in the meantime what I missed. Oh, it's a lot. Okay, another 10 seconds. So make your vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I end the voting now and share the results with you. I hope so. I hope you can see it. Okay, I think most of us like to be and to get connected with people around the globe, and even more like to further develop their knowledge and skills on digital learning in a modern and effective way. Very, very good. Many thanks for that little poll. I think we have a nice start now and we are prepared. Everybody is with us now. And I stop now because you're all here to listen to Maggy. I leave the webinar stage to Maggy now.
Oh, okay. No, thank you. Well, I shall start everyone to say good afternoon, as that is afternoon in Namibia. Could be morning and evening in other parts of the world because we're an international family here today. I'm so excited about this and just want to extend also a warm welcome by hooking on to what Sybille said already before, that we would like to welcome you to this first webinar within the MOOC for this week today. And yeah, like I said, I feel at home because I'm familiar with so many names in that chat room. It's kind of overwhelming, but at the same time, it's pleasing because it gives me that feeling of warmth and belonging to this family. So without further ado, webinar participants, I shall rather say MOOC participants, because we're just using the webinar as a tool. This session today is really allowing me the opportunity to unpack this concept that we relate, or that we refer to as digital learning, and really more so in terms of its relevance and its value, and maybe even the connotations that we associate with this concept, digital learning. And then briefly also a little bit about my experience, where I come from. Why would I be considered somehow an expert here today to provide this input based on my experience to date? And as you can see from the first slide, I'm from the University of Namibia, and I specifically work as the director for the Center for Open Distance and eLearning. And that enough in terms of my first slide. I'm going to dive right into the context of the presentation, and that is the part of unpacking and demystifying this digital learning concept, where there's such a lot of lingo, as I'm trying to bring across in that slide, and so many formats that we associate with the term digital learning. And I would like to say rightly so, because we can all put our own contextual meaning to whatever we deal with in the context where we are. But also we could derive our definitions from various opinions, and sometimes we can even support one another in the opinions that we have. And I looked at this and I realized that we have so many connotations in the form of learning supported through the use of technology. Some of us call it computer mediated learning. Some of us call it internet enabled learning. Some of us are even going to the extent of using the term blended learning, because definitely within an African context, I'm sure my colleagues from Africa will agree, we are not fully embracing yet. We are definitely more into a blend, a hybrid approach of what we are after. And from a lighter angle, when I was studying and reflecting on the inputs of all of you on the MOOC, I realized that some of you are associating it with e-learning, with open windows and having wings and all of this. And that's so exciting, because we somehow need to find ourselves within the space when it comes to how do we want to see digital learning. But in demystifying it for our context, because that's my purpose here today, we kind of resonate ourselves with the definition of Jennifer Hughes, who says digital learning is really that opportunity to meet your learners where they are in this digital world. And it's basically based on that I also said I cannot just find myself within that space and define our center and the university by that, but I also need to go slightly deeper into the literature context of this whole concept of digital learning. And I thought, let me build a bit on the scene by reflecting on what the learned scholars, what they can share with us. And specifically, two of them are really resonating with me. I would like to start with Steve Wheeler, and he's such a lovely guy and so funny in his approach as well. And I saw some of you said, it's so nice to have such a MOOC. There's nothing boring in this MOOC for sure. And Steve Wheeler in particular says to us, it's all of us as this community together. We are the ones putting all these prefixes. We are the ones who want to say e-learning. We are the ones who would like to say m-learning. We are the ones who would like to say virtual learning. And we are also the ones who would like to say digital learning, and so on, and so on, and so on. But actually, Steve Wheeler says, and he reminds
I have a problem now. I cannot see Maggie anymore, and I cannot hear her anymore.
Okay, is it a connection problem?
Yes, I think so, because now I could hear you for a moment. We lost Maggie. I got a message that she seems to be offline for a moment, but I think we will get her back again. We had that in the beginning of the beforehand. We had a meeting and there was a problem too. Maybe she's just doing a reload of the page now, which takes a minute, but we can continue our conversation in the chat. And I really like the idea of the community thought she was talking about. Okay, let's hope that her video and audio is coming back in her connection, and that mine keeps stable. Okay, let's see what you're talking in the chat. Maybe we can already answer some questions in the meantime. She seems to be back, I hear. Maggy, are you there?
Sorts of measures
Yeah,
to get. It's about to rain here, so the connection is a bit, you know, letting us down here and there. But I'm back. Can I proceed?
Great. Yeah. Continue. You're
Okay.
welcome.
So I was still with my last idea around what Steve Wheeler reminds us and telling us that we are the ones putting all these prefixes to the word learning, and we are the ones who should also own up to this, because after all, learning remains learning, and our emphasis should really be on learning. And then I thought that's maybe not enough yet. We also need to think about readiness, as our other two colleagues would like to think about it, and that's Van der Ark and Schneider, and they are really moving into the business of readiness. But here I'm not referring to e-readiness, because you've got more than enough in the open house and in the beta house I have since established about e-readiness. But the readiness I'm referring to here is even the basic readiness of how we transition from secondary level into tertiary level. And that actually that is where we need to start already when we want to transition into the whole concept of digital learning and 21st century skills and this type of thing. And therefore they brought along these concepts of, to be ready, we need to think about concepts such as thinking and knowing and acting and going, and how we are helping our learners and our students to get along with those concepts in terms of getting ready for this world that they will enter when they actually reach our world, which is the tertiary and university level. But the question that comes to my mind, and that I think all of you must actually also have in your minds, is how ready are we when we are talking about we? Are we ready enough in terms of infrastructure, in terms of attitude, in terms of ability, in terms of all of that when we talk about digital learning? What about that important institutional buy-in? What about our stakeholders resisting? You know, when you mentioned the word E in the beginning and they say, oh, that's easier said than done. How ready are we to go past that and get this to work within our institutions? But to hook on to the digital learning versus deeper learning that I also want to bring out on this slide is where they're actually specifically saying these are the skill sets that we need to survive when we talk about this. And there's apparently a direct contribution between digital learning and deeper learning, because I'm sure you all will agree, we were so inundated with concepts such as digital immigrants and digital naives. And I always say to the lecturers in our university, why do you feel scared about this thing called technology? And why do you feel scared about our students in the context that they seem to be the fast learners and naturally, you know, inclined to the use of the tools? Well, it's not about that. I always make them, you know, I draw the attention to this joke that I once listened to in a presentation when the gentleman said, I won't really call our students digital natives. I would rather like to call them digital naives. And we were all wondering, why is he going there? And he said, it's exactly because of this context and this aspect that our students do not yet possess higher order level thinking skills. And it is us who are actually possessing that knowledge. And therefore, we can form a blend by assisting one another, while they demonstrate the tool to us and show us how naturally inclined they are to using all these technologies and the world that they are in. At the same time, we've got this rich skill that we possess and that we need to make sure they will possess as well. Because we surely cannot call them a 21st century learner in this era if they do not possess critical thinking skills, effective communication skills, problem-solving skills, and the ability to communicate effectively. But also, my one colleague always has this saying, we need to go back to the drawing board. It's about learning how to learn. We're just moving on, and we are adding and packing, and basically maybe we sort of bombard them with all of this. But when are we going to stop? And when are we going to think? When are we going to make sure that learning really takes place within our context? And this is actually what I wanted to bring out there within that sort of building the scene. But now I'm going to go closer to home, and this is the environment where I work in, and this is the center where I work in within the university, and bring my own experience also briefly across. And that is that my experience in e-learning also dates back for over 10 years within the field. When I started I shall say a blended learning course, and use the right terminology, in that it was a face-to-face as well as an online phase of over 8 months. And believe you me, this course was called e-learning development and implementation, and it was offered by one of the partners, and main partners for that matter, GIZ at the time, called Invent. And in this course, we were exposed to so many aspects of the digital world, and that was aspects of e-learning management, aspects of content development, aspects of instructional design, aspects of e-learning technology, as well as online facilitation. And while others will look at this course and maybe say, this is going to make you a jack of all trades, but actually a master of none, it is not the case. It is actually from this course and that sort of background that I'm coming from that made me who I am today. And it's this course that made me realize how important it is when you want to run a center of this nature, that you need that holistic understanding. You need to be prepared for what is coming your way. So if somebody tells you about the technological aspect, you will not start thinking, what did you say again? And maybe claim the technophobic angle. But it's important, if you want to call yourself, at least as somebody who understands this, then you need that holistic picture. So I've also been practically involved as a facilitator, as an online tutor, as an umbrella tutor for some of the courses. And I've worked with several international organizations in various roles and capacities when it comes to e-learning. And for that, I actually want to move to my next slide about what happens with all this within our Center Cordial. And for us, we actually reflected long and hard about this, and we said, let's start with a pilot. And then my colleagues kind of almost laughed and said, again, a pilot, you know, because we are not sitting so well any longer with pilots. But I also believe that if you think about a pilot well, and you embrace it well in terms of where it's going to take you in the long run, then you are not going to miss the boat, because eventually that pilot will help you to scale. And then you can really talk about other aspects of scalability and sustainability. So we started with this pilot, and we decided to invite all our lecturers to join in being recorded, and we flipped that classroom. We decided it's time that we record them, and we encourage them to then use the class time to engage in real learning. And that is that once we've recorded them, we push it over to the LMS. In this case, our learning management system is Moodle. And then from there, they engage the learners in the classroom to really start with quizzes and case studies, and really engage in those aspects that many a times our learners do not have the chance within a 45-minute lecture to ask us about. We are coming in there, we do our thing, we blah, blah, blah. And in the end, we maybe say, and now questions, and maybe we can answer one or two, and we say time is up, and we expect our learners to have learned. And that's really the thing. So the flipped classroom is really working well for us in that regard. We are flipping the scenario in the real word, as it says, and we are making sure that our lecturers are going along with us and embracing this. Not easy, I mean, not easy at all, but it's like a hand-holding process. We are there for them, and they are there for us. We need one another. And as I said, also our learning management system is Moodle, but we also investigate in making sure that, and research that we have quite, you know, some useful third-party softwares built into Moodle that can assist them further. Like for an example, we've got Mahara, through which we can engage in e-portfolios. We have got Urkund, through which we can assist them with checking the online assignments that were submitted in terms of plagiarism and so on and so forth. I won't bore you with all the third-party services that we have built into Moodle, but just to give you some examples. And then what is already really worthwhile for us, if connectivity lets us down, which is also the case with our video conferencing system, but at least it is more stable. We've got a multi-bridge system within our center, and we can connect all our 12 university satellite campuses simultaneously. And we are successfully running a Masters of Education in this mode for many years now, where the students within this Masters of Education, they are from all over the country, from the most rural of rural parts of the country. And all they need to do is to go to one of our regional centers. We've got 12 of them, the campuses around the country, and they can then, log on and be part of the session that takes place on main campus. So I think we have made some progress in this regard, but I think I would need 2 days if I need to share everything in respect of the progress we have made to date in respect of some form of digital learning. Of course, the blended approach more resonating with us than anything else. But then we also thought, as from this year onwards, we are not just going to talk about a pilot anymore, but we need to scale, and we need to let this concept of digital learning and the quality of how to do it kind of come into the university, and let us build on it and establish and get to that scale that we are after. And that is our vision, really, that we would like to be a global player within this scenario. And we hope that, given all odds, we will be able to be a comfortable and experienced player within this whole scenario and in this world that we call the digital world, and practicing this concept of digital learning or e-learning or blended learning, whatever you want to call it. I think, ladies and gents, I have been given just about that time, and given that I had a technology glitch in the middle as well, I think thank you very much for listening to me within this first webinar of our MOOC. I hope that I could share my experience and our understanding of digital learning. And now I think, Sybille, over to you and to everybody, and we can continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggy. I have some questions really from the chat, and I still think that there are questions coming. But I would like to start now and look at the chat later on. The first question I think that would be good to continue with was by Tam, or T-A-M. He or she said, using labels like digital learning, open or distance, and also saying virtual learning, does it imply they mean different or same things? And Oscar, or Speedy Gonzalez, he answered, or he said and stated, for me, digital learning implies more than e-learning. It goes towards social media learning scenarios like this very MOOC here. So maybe we can discuss this a little. What do you think, Maggy? Labels like digital, yeah, okay.
No, I'm with you, and that's indeed true. That as I started off the conversation, I said that it will mean different things to all of us, and it all also, as far as I'm concerned, it does depend on our context. And I would like to agree that it is more, because yes, we are also into using social media. I mean, we have our Facebook pages, we have our Twitter, streams, we have our YouTube pages and so on. So yes, it's more than that. That part I will agree with. But as I said before, it is also true that it depends on whether we want to have a common understanding of what it should be. Do we all want to say that digital learning should really be more than, and it is more than E, or do we all want to find some sort of space for us in there where we can put our context? Because really, we're in a worldwide community today, a really international flavor within this MOOC, and it would be really difficult to bring my country's idea as the, sort of idea. It's really just to share it, and then it still depends on what we all can make of this within our own context. That's how I would look at it, Sybille.
Okay, thank you. And we had a question here from Abdullah. He says, I think e-learning is one type of distance learning. I think that's what you already tried to say. So it's all about learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's about terms here, about the E in front of the learning, about the distance learning. You know, okay, you can do a digital learning also in one room. You can be together and work on your computers, or maybe watch a video and have a discussion. And there are different settings of using new technology to support learning processes. But in the end, I think you are completely right to say it's about learning. It's about learning, and not important if there is a distance between us or not, because we can come close together like here and today through the new media. I liked one question here from Sonia. She said, as you were talking about the readiness, I think it was in the chat, she said in terms of attitude, it's complicated. I asked her if she would like to explain it, but I would have to have a look in the chat if she answered. But I think it's a good start for a question, because I was thinking about it too. What about the teachers, for example? What about the acceptance? On side of the teachers, and what experience do you have in university about attitude, acceptance?
You see, I read last night also in the groups, and I was so like sort of in a rush to answer. It was like my fingers, I couldn't wait to get to my keyboard to respond, because I saw this one person asking this question as to, can you share with us your experiences in terms of how do you win your stakeholders over? Now, these stakeholders could be your lecturers, your teachers in school, your students, they're all your stakeholders. And this is exactly where somebody is also referring here to change management, where all that is coming in as well. We decided in our policy that we would like to work with the willing. In other words, those that are willing to go this route, and they have that natural sort of passion to want to go this route. And we were hoping that their passion and enthusiasm in terms of attitude and behavior would then rub off onto others. And so we will get more and more of those. But the difficulty with such group of people, often being referred to also as your early adopters or champions, is that they are not often valued enough, and sometimes you lose them even within the process, because they're so willing to give their everything. But if the institutional frameworks and structures are not supportive of what they are doing, they lose that fire and the passion and that energy eventually. And it's something that interests me a lot. What can we do to really change, that type of attitude? That for me, it's more a mindset thing as well. It's this whole mindset of negativity, and first focusing on technology, because we always say, if we make a presentation, even though we come from the e-learning center, we are not focused on the technology. That's about the last part of it. We are focusing on the pedagogical value of all of this that we're doing. So yes, we have the attitude issues, we have the negativity, we have, the fear, which is also genuine and which is there. But we need to find these ways to nurture. In my university, I'll give you one example of what we did. Our lecturers are always complaining that they don't have enough time to engage in e-activities. And we thought it wise to take it to the right committee level, where we could add some e-time for them to the normal workload of a lecturer. And I think in doing so, they will now find some sort of valid time where they can also spend time in engaging in e. And we are hopeful that all of this will assist with changing that mindset as well as that attitude in terms of moving forward. That's just a bit from my side on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. In the meantime, I had a little look at the chat, and I think there are some very good questions here. For example, Ute Eberhardt, she's asking, Maggie, have you got experience with e-learning via mobile phones? Does it work in terms of outcomes and real learning?
Well, I can say only a little bit, because we've started, I myself, I know what the M part of the prefix means in terms of mobile learning and using of apps and all of that and so on, and bite-sized learning through the phone. And so I know that myself, and I'm experiencing that. But in terms of the setup where I'm in the university, we are now we've been invited last week to the induction of all the new lecturers that joined the university to go, and it's a golden opportunity for us to share, you know, what we want to do within the university. And as part of that, we also introduced to them the Moodle mobile app that they can use as students and as lecturers in terms of responding to whatever we have posted in the forums or within the content or in the blogs and so on. And I think it's a welcome tool, and it is something, of course, where we will find our learners on an advanced stage as well when it comes to using that tool that they so ever have with them everywhere they go. Even while we are lecturing, they're sitting on those mobile phones. And I once had a Finnish friend of mine who said, Maggie, the best way for us to reach our learners and to make a real impact is to use that very same tool that they are using. So yes, it's our intention that we want to move that direction as well. We are starting by using Moodle and its mobile app already as an LMS on the mobile phone and using it from that perspective. But of course, there's much more to that than just using the Moodle mobile app. And we are gaining experience now in moving that direction.
Okay, sounds interesting. Cool. Okay, we have another question about virtual reality. What do you think about of using virtual reality in digital learning? Do you have experiences with that field? University.
I know about virtual reality. I'm enticed by, you know, using some of the glasses to live within that world, so to speak. But it's not something that I have experience with in implementing it yet within our environment. But it's something that I do follow in terms of my learning, my own learning, and in terms of my own readings. It is an area of interest to me as to, you know, how we can build that in terms of all the things and digital things that we want to try out, and in terms of virtual reality.
Okay, I think that's a special field, and we can deepen this in the groups. So that would be a good topic, and we already have some groups on it, I think. There's a quite concrete, quite special question about the technical support you use or you have at the university for flipped classrooms. What is needed? And yeah, maybe you can say some sentences on that.
Okay. In terms of the technical support, I shall first start by saying, let me start with infrastructure first. That is already available. We have got the bandwidth is available through all the 12 campuses, not just through the network, local area network availability of it, but also wireless. You know, we are investing as a university in making sure that the internet availability will be stable on all our campuses, because for our video conferencing also being used on a daily basis and programs like Masters being delivered, we need this. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, okay, we need this. And so, yeah, but then it goes a little bit further in that we have got a computer center also in terms of making sure that this environment would be stable. So this is another center out with our center, and they also ensure, like this year during registration recently, they handed or ensured that each student received a 3G dongle, and not just the SIM card, but the dongle as well, so that they can also start going along in this direction, and not just for e-purposes, but just generally to access the various ICT tools that lecturers are using by integrating it within their teaching. So that's on the technical side. But coming to the support within the center, within our center, we really have the team in the form of, we've got instructional designers, we've got digital media experts, we have got, you know, the whole team that we need. So our digital media team are the ones that are assisting us in recording the lecturers, and they come back with innovative ideas to tell us, well, it worked in the studio, but it was without the students. So next time we will try it in the classroom. And what we are using at the moment is a Wacom tablet, because there are also lecturers telling us, I want to write while I'm recorded. So we are making it as, you know, as seamless as possible for them. I cannot say that, you know, we are experts in it now, but I assure you, we have, between the beginning of last year and up to now, we have got almost 70 of those lecturers that we have recorded, and where we edited even with their inputs, their lessons, and uploaded them for them to use with their students. So yes, we have a team, and yes, you need that support and you need those expertise, because the team in digital media can also work with designing our own images to avoid copyright problems. They can deal with animations, that sort of thing, and bring that innovation also across when they deal with our lecturers. We've got a project manager. She invites the lecturers, makes appointments with the various team members, listens to them, structures their storyboards, see what they want in the video, where they want it. We are even moving now towards the software where that's where learning comes in for us, where the student would be able to even stop and pause and reflect while watching the video, or just go to a particular aspect that he or she missed out on, you know, and that they can just focus on that. If they do not want to be bombarded with a 45-minute video, they can really go to particular aspects. And then we also have reflective questions that we want to build into the videos, so that, again, the emphasis is on this real learning that we are after.
Okay, thank you. We have another very simple question. Stephanie Patrick, she wants to know, how long has UNAM been using e-learning, all in all?
All in all, I am 22 years here, but I think the university, all in all, is maybe perhaps for this 10 years. But I will tell you why it is not so advanced yet, because we first belong to a global network within the country where we supported all the institutions that had something to do with open and distance learning. And now, I shall say from last year, the real breakthrough for us in the university is that our university realized that it's time for us to have a dedicated center with dedicated expertise. And so basically what I'm talking about today is how we moved since beginning of last year with a dedicated center. Before that, we did many bits and pieces and ad hoc of training and capacity building in E and all sorts of things in E. But I can really confidently only speak of from the beginning of last year up to now that we've established the center and that we are now running with the E activities within the university.
Okay, yeah. What the participants are really thinking about, and again, is the question how to change the attitude of the learners and teachers to use digital learning. Dr. Busacker, Deep Busacker, here she says, I think that your point of changing the mindset of lecturers and learners is the critical point. I think that's really, the nut we have to crack, really.
Correct,
so
yeah.
We have that already.
But it's not just that, for me, Sybille, there's also that aspect of what, at least in our environment, what I've seen is that they want to feel and see some form of a reward, They want us to think about sort of what's in it for them as well, because they see this as an extra duty at the moment. And unless you build this into your policies and that they can get it officially as part of their workload, and that there are some incentives, incentivizing, the way I researched it in my PhD does not mean that it must always carry a monetary incentive. It can also just be by peer promotion, by engaging within E activities. By participating in our flipped classroom, you could be promoted, you could gain points towards your promotion, you could attend conferences, you could publish within the area. So it's really, we need to look slightly bigger in terms of how we will crack this nut, because to be honest, it's not easy. So we need to holistically research how best we can get to the hearts and the minds of our stakeholders.
And how can those incentives look like? Maybe our participants in the chat have some ideas too and can write them down, because I think we are all experts here. So in the meantime, we could touch the next topic. Irene, we all know her, Irene Maviu. The biggest challenge in introducing e-learning is mostly the embracing of technology by management. And what is your experience in UNAM, Maggy?
Irene, my dearest, this is something I talk often, really, and I think people from GIZ and those that visited from all over the world, our center or the university before would know this. It's the one blessing, I shall say, in my university. I think we have that buy-in from management. And that buy-in is not just by management in terms of the fact that they realized we need this center. It is also that they are pushing for better bandwidth, for quality in terms of the products we are using, tablets, computers, laptops, whatever the case may be. So really, honestly, this is the one thing I think we as a team in our center really feel blessed about. Of course, it's not the ideal world. It's not perfect, but I can assure you, this is the one stable, constant thing, as they say in our, as I feel in our university, that we have, that our management, senior management for that matter, we have that buy-in, and you need that buy-in if you really want to go as far as coming to a scalable extent of using e-practices, and that's what we are striving to, that scalable extent.
Okay. So, Irene, you need that embracing of technology by management, be sure. Okay, and a very detailed question again. It's Desuki, that's the short name. Dr. Maggy, do you use for learning students in Namibia University also a smart board?
Yeah. Yes, they do. We, you see, this is the pieces of the puzzle. Before we decided to go the university invested in this fancy smart boards within the classrooms, and the team that I found in the center, consisting of 3 people, that was their task. They needed to sure that they trained lecturers in how to use these smart boards within the lecture theaters. And I can assure you now that in retrospectively looking into this, at the time, it felt like it was the best move for the university. But as we assess and reflect and go along, I don't think it's so ideal anymore, because I tell you why I say it. You'll find that these smart boards are there, and that 90% of the time the lecturers won't even use them to the extent that they can be used in the classroom. They won't even write on them and have that interactiveness there. They would completely just use it as a whiteboard through which you need to project. And this is where we kind of failed that innovation, but we have them, and we have realized that we need to find ways and means of working towards another common goal within the university.
So it's about the skills or about the incentives again? What do you think? Both?
Yes, I think both of them, but not only that. I think we have the tendency within our universities to want to think that we know best what our lecturers need. And I don't think that's the right approach. I think that we need to have more of the one-on-one and interactive sessions where they can also share with us what they think will work best. Because I know of a scenario in our country where we really, really invested, even in our schools, some very, very expensive equipment. And then a teacher told us at one of the conference locally here that I never asked for that equipment. I simply need a projector and a screen, even a white wall. I don't even need a screen. The wall can also, fulfill the purpose of the screen. So that's our problem. We always jump for the fancy, but we never consult these people that must actually use these tools. And I think that's more what we need to get right, to get them to inform us what it is that they need.
Yeah, okay, again, the issue of learning instead of technology for its own purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
I had another question. I think it's fitting. Yeah, it's about accreditation. Let's wait a minute. Arusiak Abraham Yan, he or she asks, Maggie, do you have any experience in accreditation of digital learning components? And Kamika, he asks, Maggie, how to assess your students, and it means in digital learning too. So maybe that's 2 questions that could fit together and go together.
Okay. In terms of accreditation, I shall say that we are many years behind, because I sit in the university, particularly within council, and I have that holistic picture of what's going on within our university at all layers, because all of this will feed in to council at the end of the day. And one of the things that we have focused on so far is just to get our normal curricula approved through the National Qualifications Authority in terms of getting those accredited, because that's a first step for Namibia as well, that all your programs must be accredited through the National Qualifications Authority. But then in the university, we realized that we are creating a gap. If we are only focusing on getting the formal courses and programs accredited, we are losing out on the sort of those ones that we call the short courses and like the e-courses and so on. And so last year we started the idea of developing a short course policy where we can also bring that and align it to the credit system of the National Qualifications Authority, because after all, it's about, if you look at the MOOC now and you see the amount of time that you need to spend maybe to complete an activity, all that can be linked to your learning outcomes, and all that again can be linked to credit points. So we are slowly moving there to make sure that even the short courses and the e-courses can get its well-deserved accreditation. And I guess that's also why you will learn more in this MOOC about the ECB check and all that. So that's one way of it. What was the other one again, Ella? The assessment.
Yeah.
In terms of the assessment of students, I also need to be clear as to what our role is. Remember that as such a dedicated center, our role is and will never be to take over what the lecturers are experts in. So our role is merely to assist and to facilitate and help them when they move, you know, with their content online and online assessments and so on. So we facilitate and we encourage them to start developing rubrics to make it easier when they want to assess it online. We are looking at tools that can assist us in terms of, you know, doing that scoring, also checking the plagiarism aspect, and then providing that holistic picture, you know, back to the students. So it's all that of building rubrics and looking at formative and summative assessments. The university is also thinking of summer schools where they want to move away from just what you learn and what you get assessed in an exam, but rather also having summer schools to give you another opportunity to be assessed again. And that's where they want to use our center to help them with that level of assessment, where it's not just always what we are used to in terms of the summative forms of doing assessments.
We should have a little look at the time, but I still have a very, I think, important question now. Before we come to this, a rather simple question. Maggy, did you also have a team, or do you also have a team of instructional coaches or instructional designers? Is there something like instructional designers at University of Namibia?
Yes, as I mentioned the team before, they really, in terms of project manager, to assess, to invite, to nurture, to handhold. We have the digital media experts in terms of creating the images, animations, the videos, the audio, podcast, broadcast. We have the instructional designers sitting, listening to the lecturer, coming up with their storyboard, assisting them with how to map that content onto the digital platform, because it's not just taking a textbook online. So yes, to answer it in short, because I also look at the time, yes, we have instructional designers as part of the team as well.
Yes,
and
okay.
System administrators, of course, for managing the Moodle part, and of course our video conferencing experts as well.
Okay, thank you. So, and the question I already announced is about quality, of course. Oscar Speedy Gonzalez is asking, what about quality assurance? And Apmina, she says, how does University of Namibia measure or evaluate the learning at the end of the courses? I think it's a little, you know, a different aspect of the both questions, but maybe you can share some words or some experiences with us on quality, because of course that's our MOOC topic.
You know, it's interesting. When this MOOC was advertised, the first center that I sent this MOOC link to, or shall I say the mailer with the invite, was our Center for Quality Assurance, because I feel that they need to work with us and they need to have the same level of understanding, not just to quality assure our other full mainstream programs, but all our initiatives as well. And I'm hopeful, I will still check on the participants tab, I'm hopeful that they are here with us, because that quality aspect is so important, you know, within and we have a specialized center within our university called Center for Quality Assurance, and they are just dealing with that. And all others must bring whatever we are doing as initiatives or services. We have to work with them hand in hand to get that. But not just that. We have the ECB check. I mean, we all are free to also submit our small courses that we've developed or initiatives through that, and get it a quality label on it and things like that. And I mean, this is what this MOOC is also for here, isn't it? That it's about the quality within digital learning, and that we can learn from one another what will help us to get to kind of crystallize that whole aspect of quality assurance for us.
Okay, thank you. The participants in the chat are already getting a little nervous. They say they need kind of, where was it? I guess we need a question answer book. But we have the question
maybe
right here, right now, and we are all we have a record of this, so I think everybody can have a look at it after our session too. And I have to admit, I'm not quite sure if the chat also is recorded, but we will copy and
yeah, I can see it's recorded. Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. We have a final, very final, maybe more a statement by Fabrizio Meliado. He says, "Thank you very much, Maggie and Sybille, for the nice discussion. What is, in our view, the key to moving beyond definitions and finally recognizing a core set of universal principles that characterize the epistemic community of e-learning developers, facilitators, and beneficiaries?" I think we do this already. To a certain degree, we are working on this in our MOOC. And I have a message in the private chat, which is and our administrator, he says, I can give you an archive of the chat. Okay. That for your information in between, because it was okay. So Fabrizio, I think we are going onward. We are moving forward on this way with our MOOC in our community, in our groups, and we should step that way forward. I think I have some final. Okay. I'm sorry, I cannot follow the chat completely now, but I have a final poll for us now. First, I would like to thank you, Maggie, but please stay with us another moment. I have a final poll to see how everybody liked the webinar today. I think we only could, scratch or touch on the certain topics. Of course, we try to answer the questions from the participants, and we would like to deepen the exchange in a group. We could call the group Webinar Understanding of Digital Learning, and we could deepen some questions there, because 1 hour is definitely not enough for all that experience we have here in this room with you, Maggie, and with all those participants and their questions and their answers. So let me close with a little poll and with a feedback, and thank you all for being here, and thank you, Maggie, for sharing your experiences. But don't go, I have another little survey, another poll. I just have to click at the right place. Need some concentration. Now you should see it.
Yes.
We want to know, did the webinar meet your expectations? More than that, yes, it was okay. No, not fully or not at all. If you are not that satisfied, please share some feedback in the chat with us and tell us what we could do better for next time. That would be nice. So if you click at no or not fully, a little feedback in the chat would be very nice. Or maybe if you like, you can also write an email after the webinar if you don't want to write in the chat. Okay. What can we chat on? Maggie?
Maybe it gives me the opportunity to just really thank everyone for listening and for bringing all those nice questions across within the chat room. Just from that alone, I think it gives us, Sybille, the feeling, this, you know, that it least at work, somehow it worked, and people are actually enjoying this, and they're, you know, trying to get to grips, and that is maybe the way to go, because I've seen that they are saying, comparing it to a not so boring MOOC, and you know, that maybe this is the way to go. And so yeah, maybe we are on the right track. I don't know, but I can only thank all of them for really listening to me while sharing. And I'm not saying we are experts, I'm not saying the world is, you know, we are on top of the world, sorry, but I'm simply saying we have started and we will continue to push.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maggie. I end the voting now because there is not much activity anymore, and I share the results. It should be visible for you now. Do you see it, Maggie?
Yeah, we see it, yes.
So I think the participants see it too. Okay, we have, most of you are
44%,
that's good. That's good to see. Yes, you were happy with the webinar. Please, again, if you were not fully happy, please write us. Maybe you did already in the chat. I couldn't read all contributions, but we are in time. It's 1 minute after only. I'm very happy that you're all here, that you were all here, and hope to see you again in our MOOC, in the groups. Go on with the discussions and exchanges there. And also use the forum for intercultural and informal exchanges. And if you have any questions, please contact us. Let's bring this MOOC forward. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone as well. Thank you for taking time to listen to me and Sybille. We appreciate, and adios. See each other again next time. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.